Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the League of Inches podcast, round 26 review. Wowee, another round is one and done. So close to the finish line, it feels like. And one more week, and then more than half the teams pack their bags to Bali, and we start to really get into finals football and things like that, which I'm really, really excited for. Shout out, obviously, our major sponsor, Caxton Brewing Company. We're actually there today, had a couple of drinks, had a bite to eat, just stood around, chatted to some people about footy before the Dolphins-Titans game, so that was awesome. Great to catch up with a few of you out there as well. Exciting little bit of news. We will be doing a finals preview show there next Monday afternoon, and that'll probably be out for you guys to listen to hopefully Tuesday, at some point Tuesday, which would be awesome. We'll go deep dive through each team's chances, things like that, look into the first week's sort of games and all that sort of jazz. So that'll be a really exciting episode, and we'll be filming it from the Caxton Brewing Company, which is awesome. You'll notice no Trav tonight, unfortunately, just myself and Matt. Trav, a little bit sick still, not quite fully there, getting a bit tired and being out and about. Started to get a bit cold for us as well in the evening, so would have knocked him around a little bit. So he's called in sick, but that's all right. Me and Maddie, we'll be doing our first podcast, I think, together. This would be exciting times. Matt, welcome aboard once again, and ready to rip and tear.
Yeah, buddy. Oh, cheers, mate. Cheers for having me.
That's all right. It's all good. You can just let loose with this one. It's just me and you, so we don't have Trav keeping an eye on us like a teacher, so we can just go for it.
Yeah, 100%. Let's do it.
All righty, let's get straight into it. Honestly, it feels so long ago. Thursday night, the Bulldogs beat New South Wales Cup Penrith side, and I'm not being disrespectful there. A lot of times would say that disrespectfully in a way and just say that's how bad the team was, but this was literally their New South Wales Cup side. So it was even the scoreline in a way, mate, like it doesn't, you look at it knowing full well how that game was, and 28 points to 4, it sort of for me doesn't really say too much. And look, I know what we're going to cop from this conversation, and it's more so I'm actually getting to the point now, and there's a number of Dogs fans who just start to go, you know what, I sort of agree with what you guys are saying, things like that, and they know where we're coming from. We're not trying to bash the Bulldogs at all. We're just talking about what we see. And to be fair, Thursday night against a heavily depleted Penrith Panthers side, which they'll more than likely meet again in the finals at some point in the next couple of weeks, full strength, I was not convinced at all by that performance. Matt, how did you see it?
Yeah, I agree, man. The start of the game felt like Schneider, the step in half.
Yeah,
Brad Schneider, yeah, he was really sort of controlling the game. It felt like a lot of kicks, like just sort of taking them dead and just really resetting, so Bulldogs couldn't have a lot of minutes with ball in play to sort of break it down. So, yeah, Penrith held into the fight there, and then I like a few of like the matchups as well. That Farley in the centres, he's a unit, So we got a bit of a rehearsal on, the sort of production. Everyone sort of complaining, saying, "Oh, Penrith shouldn't have done that" or whatever. I thought it was cool to see some of these young fellas. Like they were pretty impressive. Bulldogs broke away at the end. Same thing happened. Was it on Schneider's edge that Preston scored the 3 tries?
I think it was. Yes, I think it was.
Yeah, so the same thing happened to Schneider at Bathurst when they come up against Newcastle. Dylan Lucas did the same thing, scored 3 tries on his edge. So that's probably something that, they might want to look at. I know Cogger's coming down next year as well, so they've got some other options as backup halves. But yeah, I reckon Penrith held their hands up and stayed in the fight. I reckon, even though the scoreline sort of did blow out. But.
Yeah, I think it was credit to Penrith for sure. I think a lot of their young, like we're seeing once again, like that nursery has been completely picked apart for a number of years now. It's interesting when you get to talk to people at clubs in and around that area, and they talk to you a little bit about what's going on. Clubs are now focusing on signing players at Penrith that are well before they actually make first grade, just knowing full well how good that nursery is and continues to be and has been. So their recruitment officers are starting to get very smart with it. They get onto them before they are demanding that 600,000-700,000 contract and blood them through the next couple of years of their journey until they get to new NRL level, which means while we what we saw on the weekend was no doubt still a very good young football side with some great talent there, we're still seeing this might not be ideally their strongest sort of players in those positions because they've probably got picked apart and moved to another club over the last couple of years. So it's crazy to think about what they've got there and just how, like, the funny thing was watching that game, and it wasn't quite hitting the spot, but they weren't far off. Like, their systems of as if that full strength side was playing, which I actually thought was awesome to see, because there's a lot of times where you'll see that many changes, and whether it's the coach or the players, they'll almost completely change the way that team normally plays and their identity, because they feel like they can't emulate what was done by those players above them. But not this Penrith Panthers club and team. They just go out and go, you know what, it's my job. This is what I'll go out and do. And they're able to do it, mate. Like, it's really impressive when you start to sit back and just look at everything. And they may not win the competition this year. I'm not too sure yet. I think they're right in this chance, in with a chance to win the comp. But when you sit back and just look at this club, it's remarkable.
Yeah, it's so impressive. Like, as you're saying, they don't look disjointed at all. Like, they could throw anyone in there and they just fall right into the system. And they're in there, man. Like, the two top sides, well, I believe they're going to be the top sides is Canberra and Melbourne. They both took them to Golden Point consecutive weeks, you know. So they're right up there. I wouldn't worry if I was Penrith. They'll rest their players again coming up this week because they've earned the right to, and they'll consider the finals a brand new competition. They've got to play good for 4 weeks, and I'd back Penrith to play good for 4 weeks, full strength.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see what happens this week and who actually does end up getting named to play, because the longer it goes, the longer I'm leaning towards him resting almost majority of this team once again. I'm just going, you know what, boys, let's just have a bit of training early in the week. Let's go hard there, taper off, and let's get ready for the week after this week one of the finals, which obviously will be must-win football. It'll be must-win football for Penrith every week, but we'll see what they're like, and I don't think there'll be anything away from. I don't think they'll be any weaker. What about the Bulldogs, mate? What are your thoughts on the Bulldogs' performance? Bless me.
Oh, mate, I feel like every week it's like I sort of like say negative stuff about them. They're coming third. I want to just preface by saying that they are coming third, and you know they're going to be right up there at the pointy end. But well, yeah, they get 2 bites of the cherry at least. I'll say that. They look a bit unlike Penrith. They look disjointed. They look a bit sort of like their football doesn't look crisp. They don't look like they've got combinations really sorted that well. I mean, Galvin and Preston maybe are starting to putting 3 tries on. Got a bit of a training run. That could be a good confidence builder. Yeah, it's the forwards for the Dogs for me that like don't impress me all that much. So I think that's still the worry.
Yeah.
We'll see. I just don't think they can match it with these, like going 1-on-1 even with a Canberra or any of these good packs. A Storm, even a Broncos pack, I feel like would get the upper hand on the Bulldogs front row.
Yeah,
So
that's a huge concern, isn't it? And that then also prevents their back line and their spine to be too creative, because they're doing it a lot on the back foot or with not much time, where you'll see some of the more dominant playmakers in the competition, they have what feels like so much time because their forward pack is dominating whoever it is they're versing at the time. It makes their job a hell of a lot easier. And like, I look at players like Curran, who I've been a huge fan of for a couple of years now. It just feels like he's been a bit below what he normally has been doing. And I think they've taken a bit for granted some of these players who have really risen above what their maybe capabilities were prior to getting to that club. They've been up for a while now, and it's hard to keep that going. If that's not naturally that level for you, to continue on that level for so long, it can really take it out of you. So I'm really starting to see fatigue hit this football side. they and the funny thing is, and to ask you on this one before we move on, it looks like some of them do need a bit of a rest. But at the same time, Matt, like we're sitting here and we've seen it for a number of weeks now, and a lot of people have seen it as well. They're not clicking, and they've made too many changes in key positions where one hand they need to rest, but on the other, they actually need to play as many minutes together as they possibly can. So it's a tough one to balance this weekend, what they actually do with this lineup.
Yeah, that's right. Like even just talking about Curran, do you think like his sort of role sort of moved away from what he normally is? Like I see Curran as a really like a bench impact player, like almost like a Lenu. Like I remember Curran just coming in and just being a crazy man for 25 minutes, like when the game's in fatigue. But yeah, they can't afford to rest anyone. Then and the experience will be good for them no matter what. Like Galvin and Burton and all these blokes coming in playing a potential prelim. Like I don't see them getting to the Grandy, but a prelim final still good experience. Like it's a big crowd, big pressure, and maybe they go one better next year. But yeah, that's probably where I see Canterbury.
Yeah, no, spot on. Moving on, there was a controversial moment Friday about 6:40. I reckon it was maybe a little bit later actually. A knock apparent. I'll say I'll go first here because I'm happy for you to disagree with me here, and I'm very firm on what I've seen here. And people will be like, "Oh, you're a Para fan," blah blah blah. The amount of Warriors fans I've copped criticism off over the last 24 to 48 hours, I find hilarious because I think this is any other team. Majority of the people who are having a go at me would go, "Yeah, that's a knock on, play on." It's just, I thought, and I said to my partner when I was sitting there watching it with her that game, as soon as I saw the first replay, I said, that's a knock on from the Warriors player. That's grazed his finger. The ball's going towards the Parramatta goal line. It's continued on that path while nipping through his fingers, and it's a knock on. For mine, it looked quite obvious. The controversy to come after this, and the fact that I was listening to it on the Fox Sports commentary, how blinded they were with their views was absolutely shocking to me because I could see from my TV screen what sort of happened, and I'm adamant now that it was a knock on. What are your thoughts with this decision, Matt? Was it a knock on in your eyes, or did you saw it differently?
He touched it. He definitely touched it. I heard he's is it Dimitri Vaimunga?
Raymanga, yeah.
Yep. I heard him talk after the game, and his defense was he was facing the opposite, his own try line. So he thought he couldn't. But as you were saying, the ball was coming sort of towards that trajectory towards the Parramatta Eels try line. I don't know. It's hard to say if it was a knock on or not. I find it weird that the video ref did get into it. When you watch the replay, the ref is standing literally right there. And it just sort of takes away the feel of the game. Like when I was watching it and I was thinking, if they called that and not a knock on, would I have been upset with that? No. And in the same way, I'm not upset that it was a knock on. I'm not sort of in either camp, I suppose, because I don't go for either team. But yeah, it was one of those 50-50 ones for mine. I'm not too up in arms either way. Yeah, that surprised me that people are coming after you for that. That's pretty wild.
Mate, it has been non-stop. So, but hey, I welcome it. I welcome everyone's thoughts, but I just thought it was quite an obvious one in my opinion. I want to talk.
Yeah, one of them.
I want to talk about Isaiah Iongi. I know I might be slightly biased in this view, but actually at the same time, I think I might be overcritical of Iongi at times as well, because Clint Gutherson has been my favourite Eel for a long time now. What he did for our club, I will forever be thankful for. What he put his body through. People see what he's like now, and he's not quite the player, but I always say that's because of what he's done and put himself through for the Eels. And for many years was our best player, I felt like, almost clearly as well on a couple of those years. And he was always our reliable, safe option at fullback. And when I heard the news and when it happened that he was leaving the club to the Dragons, we signed Iongi, this youngster from Penrith. I was hesitant about it. I wasn't as on board as a lot of other fans were about this. I was quite concerned losing the experience of Gutho in a year that was going to be a challenge this year with so many changes. But what Iongi has brought to this club is exactly what we've needed at fullback for a while now. Additional speed in and around the ruck, getting those little offloads and things like that. Skill, he's right up there. Like Gutho has been always great with his ball playing, but I think Iongi's just up there as well. I think the big thing that maybe Gutho's slipped off for, especially this year, defensively, Iongi's actually been quite resound as well. Like he's been really good defensively, really strong. I've just been really impressed with what I've seen this year from Iongi, Matt. I actually got him right up there for buys of the year. I think he's right up there. I'm not sure if you agree or not, but he has been sensational. It just feels like every week he has just gotten better and better and better.
Yeah, no, I agree. Para are starting to make some moves in the transfer market. Some smart ones too. Like finally, you're seeing them do good things. Like people were talking about getting rid of Blaze at the start of this deal, but we've long forgotten about him because you got this bloke killing it. You gotten rid of Regan Campbell-Gillard, which looks to be a perfect, a perfect exit. He's getting money. Just on, you were talking about Gutho and, the speed of Iongi, how he just sort of stood up CNK. I sort of really thought it was very similar to Munro doing Gutho just the other week, and just how these young fellas are starting to pass these guys, and it's sad to see that Father Time, sort of takes away our favourite players. And as you were touching on Gutho, he was your best player for ages, and then you just get rid of him. But I think they did it at the perfect time, honestly. And then I just want to mention just on Iongi, Penrith probably knew how good he was, but they didn't handcuff themselves to talent. They said, no, this is our team. You don't fit here. And I think the Titans could have a real good look at that sort of blueprint, with their the whole situation happening there. So I just want to, just mention that's just real smart business from Penrith.
I think that's spot on. I think it's actually a really good call you make around the recruitment of retention around the Eels as well, which I've been very boisterous about for a number of years now. I think they've got it wrong on a number of occasions where this year, and look, it's Riles' first year, and honestly, some of those big calls was within his first month or two. Like it was some really big, he had to have some big kahunas to make those calls, and he did that. And that they could have gone completely wrong. We could have been sitting here after having 2 or 3 wins of the year going, why the hell did you get rid of our probably 2 best players last year? Like that was crazy. But look what he's done. Look how much he's transformed, not just the club, but the style of play, like what we're seeing out there on the field at the moment. And you see when Moses is part of this team, how much that can evolve, and it does look much better. And it goes back to, like you said, that recruitment and retention has been really impressive from the Eels so far, and they've been pretty quiet so far for next year's window. I have been told it was a month or so ago that they're more so just waiting for the right people to come along. They're not going to just go out and just sign people because they've got money available or they've got spots. They want to make sure the right people, and they've been quite smart with things. They know that clubs often change things up with their cap, or they need to make room for someone, things like that. And they'll be ready to pounce on one of those guys and probably get him a bit cheaper the way things go on. Like that club will have to put in some money, so the Eels might get a couple of $100,000 off a certain player that they might want, which is really smart business. And like I said, Matt, like watching how Brad Arthur used to do things, we never used to be that forward thinking, in my opinion. It was very much Brad Arthur was very strict on what he wanted, and that was sort of it. And it's just really refreshing to see us go after so many good young talent as well, and to see that that's really the priority here for Riles and co. Is that Riles looks like he's gone to the club and gone, you know what, if I'm not here in the next 2 years because of poor results, so be it. But what I'll do right now, I'm going to set you guys up to make sure you've got some really good young talent coming through for the next 4 or 5 years, and we really start setting this place up. So really, really impressive.
Yeah, 100%. I just want to touch one more thing on Iongi. His ceiling is so high. We don't know
Oh.
how good he could be. So I think Para would be really smart to lock him down long term if they haven't already.
Please.
Just on their signings as well, they need to figure out the hooker situation. Are they going Talon or what is it? Riley Smith is his name, is it? Or
Riley Smith will start, and I think Talon will just
yeah,
keep
because he
doing what he's
looks
doing
the
at the moment.
talented one. I feel like they chased Talon de Silva pretty hard, and it was like I reckon you got a good talent there. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have on that. Yeah, it's just these young fellas sort of starting to take over now. The older fullbacks, we're starting to see the backside of them now, and a lot of young blood through the door. It's good to see.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. I want to talk to you about the next game after that. We've seen a Storm side go out to what it was 10-0 lead at halftime, and then the Roosters just came and I think scored basically 40 unanswered points, which is unheard of. I think it's the worst half of football by a Melbourne Storm team in terms of points conceded ever. So that is huge, especially for a milestone game. And we're not just talking any milestone. We are talking the potentially greatest coach of all time. Definitely the greatest coach in the Melbourne Storm history, and one that I reckon pretty much every Storm player whoever has gone in those two doors at the front have gone, you know what, this guy has shaped my career for me. And to pull up that performance on the weekend, I'll say right now, I didn't get to watch it. I was unfortunately at the hospital. Little man decided to run into a door. But I'll be asking Matt a couple of questions because it's really surprised me, this performance, because firstly, I want to ask you just about the Rooster side of things. So I'll go to the Storm first because I mentioned there. I want to talk about the Storm because it looks like their first half was quite a Storm half where it was just professional. They went about it. They sort of just rubbed Roosters into the dirt basically and said, all right, we've got a few on you. We reckon we'll get you in the second half and run over the top of you. They've come out in the second half, and this is very unstorm-like, especially, like I said, in that sort of big atmosphere game, doing it for their coach. To put up that performance in the second half, never seen it in my life.
Yeah, no, especially 600 games and they went out like that. I'll just quickly mention that Storm did rest a few and they had suspensions, injuries, so there was no Hughes, there was no Grant, there was no Katoa. Warbrick was a quick in. There was no Coates. So they were missing, a fair bit of what makes Melbourne Storm good. But yeah, they had the upper hand in most of the first half, but you sort of sense that the Roosters started to break the line a bit towards the end of that first half, and you're sort of sensing that the Roosters weren't out of it. And we sort of touched last week, when Bulldogs were versing Melbourne, and it was very like one off the ruck, Galvin having 15 runs. Roosters would like stack aside and have a strong run in second rower, get the quick play the ball, and then zip it, to the wing. And Nwanga Nituase, I think he scored 3 tries in 7 minutes.
Freak.
Off virtually the same like thing every time. Even Munster like swapped because he saw what was happening. Still couldn't stop it. Yeah, it was not what you see from Melbourne, and then they just couldn't get them back. Just the momentum swung, and they couldn't hang with the Roosters. Nafahu White, damaging as anything.
What was with the Roosters' performance then? Because first half they weren't quite looked like warmed up, and then the second half they've come out. Obviously, whatever was said by Trent Robinson was on the spot because they just came out a completely different team. You mentioned Mark Nwanga Nituase is a freak. I don't think anyone out there can doubt that anymore. And I think Teddy was really busy by looking at the stats. He was really, really busy that game, but just a well-rounded Roosters performance. Do you think the Roosters are starting to build a genuine threat in this competition, even though, funnily enough, they're 8th. They're not a certainty for the finals. It's looking quite good for them at the moment, but they'll be versing a red-hot Bunny side who bring back a lot of their stars this week to upset the apple cart, try and get Alex Johnson's record, get that out of the way this weekend. So they'll be planning to play for. It's not a given, but you'd probably say they are favourites to make it into the 8. And if they can, going off some of their performances over the last 4 to 6 weeks, you would not want to be versing them, in my opinion.
Nah, it's another chapter for the book of feuds. If South can stop the Roosters and stop them from making the finals, that'd make their holiday a bit sweeter. Especially Brendan Smith going up against him too, if he's allowed to play. I'm not sure what's happening. Sorry, what was the end of that question?
Do you think they're threats in this competition, even though they'll probably be finishing 8?
Yeah. You wouldn't want to verse them. They're sort of hot and cold in a way. Like, I mean, the win that Para put on them looks even nicer now for you, I suppose. What was that, 30 to 10?
Yeah, man, it's up just a walk in the park for us. Nothing much.
Yeah, too easy. Yeah,
you know what? Teams are lucky we're not in the finals this year because I reckon we've been the comp.
Yeah, you could do some damage. I don't know about win the comp, but you could do some damage.
I'll win it. We'll win it.
I wouldn't want to verse the Roosters. I reckon they could do something, but I don't think they can win it. They're not consistent enough to do 4 games in a row.
It's a funny competition and just sort of a little sidetrack. When I look at the 8 and how it looks like it's going to, I reckon what the 8 is now will be what the 8 teams that will be in it. I just can't see the Dolphins or Manly unfortunately scraping. I think Roosters will get it done against South, even though they won't make it easy. The positions may change slightly from the last round, which is exciting. The top 4 still to play for, things like that. But
top 4 will change.
Yeah, you're trying to doubt your own team there. Have some faith. Melbourne. Have some, and they'll get absolutely torn apart this week. They'll have to come out and put a statement on. Night. But I'll ask you a question about that one in a minute because in a way I feel like Bellamy might just be like, you know what, you've pissed me off. I'm going to smash us at training, but we're basically secured second position. Well, let's just go rest a few more of you on the weekend. You better make sure you pull your freaking fingers out for round 1 of finals and throughout that, because that's when we hit the go time. And I'm putting my confidence into you guys that it's done. So I'm interested to see the team list for that one. He did hint that last year they did similar. They basically named a pretty strong lineup, or if not their strongest lineup for that game against Broncos and resting them the week before. So similar to here, but players like Munster, I feel like maybe due for a rest. So it'd be interesting to see what happens there. But going up the 8, just what I was trying to say before, like you look at Penrith and Roosters at the moment, 7th and 8th. I reckon this is arguably the first time in a hell of a long time where you can sit there and say, you know what, I can actually see a world where 7th or 8th win this competition. That's how close it is.
Yeah, no, it could definitely happen. Like it's that tight. I think last week on the tips, I got like maybe 2 from 8, and I'm leading my comp. I got 2 from 8, and I was like, "What the fuck's happening here?" That's what the comp is at the moment. It's wild. I watch footy every weekend, and then I can dish that up. So I'm better this week, obviously, but it's an open competition. It's never been done. Raiders, they're the first. Oh, sorry, we'll go on to that next, but. The top 8 is a bit of a mixture now, not all the same top teams are right at the top, which is good to see. So hopefully we see a different winner. But yeah,
it would be refreshing, but at the same time, I'm kind of digging the storyline of Penrith at the moment, being down and out by round 12 to a last, to come back into this competition like they've done. They've faltered at the moment. Most people are just thinking, they're just priming themselves for a big finals tilt to do it from outside the 4. That would be insane. So I'm kind of, in a way, I'd like to see a new one, but the storyline of Penrith this year has me really intrigued, and I hate that because obviously they're an arch rival to the team I support, but I've got to take that away and I've just got to respect what could potentially be, and I actually love it.
Imagine if they do in Canberra. They haven't won for so long. And Canberra, who knows how long they'll be waiting again. They lose Fogarty at the end of the year, and
I would love a Penrith-Canberra grand final. That would be awesome to watch. Talking about the Raiders, congratulations to the Canberra Raiders for the minor premiership for 2025. JJ Gilton and Shield fantastic scenes. That was awesome yesterday. That packed house crowd. It really looks like tickets you must have at the moment, and they get 2 bites of the cherry in September in finals, and they'll also get 2 home finals, which is even better. That home ground advantage at the moment really is. I think they've only lost 1 home game this year, so it's a very daunting place again. I think that's when the Raiders have always been their best. When you go there in the winter, you can't feel your fingers. The ball keeps hitting them, and they're sore. Your body's just going, get me out of here. I don't want to be here. You're up against this massive forward pack that is so good in the Raiders pack. They just beat the crap out of you. They're almost laughing at you going, mate, we love this. This is awesome for us. And their results this year have spoken it. There was number of, and not to bag him, like we all have to make predictions. We've all got predictions wrong this year at some points, but there was many people out there who actually tipped these guys to be wooden spooners. Now, we weren't one of them. We actually had them mid to about the 11th to 10th mark on our predicted ladders, guys. So nowhere near what they finished. So we did get it wrong, but there was some out there that had the Raiders wooden spooners, which to think that that's where some people out there seen this side to now be minor premiers, Matt, that is an incredible achievement. Like, this organization is so under the radar that it is crazy to see them finish at the moment where they're finishing. Then the regular season, I've been big on this, a massive advocate that it deserves higher praise than it gets. That's 27 weeks of this competition where they've been the best team of the competition. That's incredible.
Yeah, 100%. Pretty much all over the world in any other competition in the world, that would be the premier. Like, the EPL, it's all first past the post. They reward their consistency. So I'd like to see the prize. Is it still 100K for the
I
prize?
think it is. It has to be more. It has to go
Yeah,
more.
it needs to go up. That is just crazy. But yeah, it's their first minor premiership since 1990, I'm pretty sure, for Canberra. So, it doesn't happen often. And yeah, people tipped them as the spoon. They were favourites on like Sportsbet for the spoon.
$81 to win the comp as well.
Oh. Yeah, well, not many people would have been getting on that. The diehard Raiders fans would be loving that at the moment. But yeah, they do. They bash her, and just want to mention that shot from Skelton on Strange, and it looked like he got folded, and then he just gets up, and Skelton's just like, I hope Skelton's all right, but he's just laying there, and there's just a smile on his face, just this country boy like made of granite or something, quick as lightning. Yeah, I hope he plays for the Kangaroos at the end of the year. He's such a good player, eh? Origin next year for
He's a
sure.
gun.
Yeah.
He's a gun. He's so dangerous. Like, he's such a dangerous runner of the ball. It's like he flicks a switch, and you're worried you'd have to be worried as a defender that you just make a clear one-on-one miss because he's just so hard to tackle.
Yeah, holding it in 2 hands, you're isolated. It's just you, and you're not just running at it. It's a big half at a little half this time, So he's got
And he's
the
got
upper
some good
hand almost
footwork.
every time. He
He's
does,
not
yeah.
just one of those guys that will charge at you and probably beat you because of his strength, but he's actually got some really good nippy footwork, which makes him just so dangerous. Anywhere within around that 10-meter line of the try line, like it adds defense. You're going to start to, and I think defenses will start doing this in the finals. They'll have to start doubling him up, which then creates space for the
Space
outside
elsewhere.
man, either his second row or his center, and that, which is just going to make things so dangerous because it's either him going to go or he's going to go, all right, you've double teamed me, no worries. I'll just pop it and off we go. And they've got some great edge back rollers there that will feed off that.
Yeah, it almost doesn't matter. Once he gets it, as you're saying, on that 10-meter line, and he starts that little diagonal run, and they start to slide, the defensive line slides. As soon as that happens, he's using that footwork and he's going straight through. You can't stop him on a sliding defense. So yeah, they're going to have to double up on him, like they used to do to Tom Trebojevic back in the day. I don't know if you remember, Melbourne used to just double up on his side.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be one of them for sure.
What about the Raiders? Just quickly, do you think they are genuine premiership contenders? Do you have them in your potential teams to win the comp?
Yeah, I think you have to. You have to. Yeah, they just won the minor premiership. they've beaten, they beat Penrith, although anyone could have won that game, but they still find themselves in all those tough games. They find themselves there and abouts to win it. So yeah, I think they're probably one of the better chances for mine.
They're my favourites at the moment, and I just love what they're doing. I feel like a fanboy whenever I talk about them because I'm just in awe of what they're doing this year and just how well rounded that team is at the moment. Is just it's. I know Ricky has his haters out there, and whatever, fair enough. I'm not one of them. I actually want to congratulate him for what he's built here, and it just shows you. And he's said it on a couple of podcasts recently, and I loved listening to him. Was that if it wasn't for him being at the Raiders right now and them giving him the luxury of basically having time to build what he's currently built, and most other clubs probably would have sacked Ricky a couple of years ago, and that just speaks to what the Raiders are as a club and what they stand for. Like, yep, there was a number of years there where they probably didn't have the results that they wanted. There was things not going quite their way, but they always had a vision. That they had this vision where they wanted to go, and to now come out that other side of that vision and look, the job is not done, and I love that mind frame from him. All they did was during their post match comments and things like that was always saying basically on the weekend, job's not done. They're like, yeah, sweet, minor premiership's awesome, but they've got their eyes on the prize, and you're gonna have to be even like the Storm, even Penrith, they're gonna have to be right at their top to beat this team at the moment. They've got a forward package that I think is the best in the competition. They've got outside backs that are quick, exciting. They can do some like Tamale's back now, which means they've got guys that can just work out their end as well. Weeks is just so quick. Their spine is exciting. And then you've got Fogarty in there to just steer the ship and probably has one of the best kicking games in the competition and one of the biggest boots in the competition. Just when you look at everything and you start going deeper and deeper into this side, there is really not many flaws you can pick out, if any, Matt. And it just means, for mine, they've got to be premiership favourites.
Yeah, they're balanced. They're so balanced across the park.
Yeah.
And yeah, the Raiders, they've been really loyal to Ricky, letting him build what he has to build. Just when you were saying that, I was just thinking, like players they've lost. Like imagine if they could have held on to Anthony Milford or Todd Carney or any of these guys that were local talents there that ended up being quite good talents in the NRL. They lost a couple of opportunities to sort of build a sort of a team because other teams are picking them out, or Toddy can't behave himself, or whatever happens. But they've been sort of unlucky as well. So it's good to see it going right for them, and not plays you'd expect. Like Ricky fully changed his tact and got Englishmen, and he's sort of been thinking outside the box, and it's good to see that. Yeah, it's worked for him because he's working hard, I reckon.
It's a good advertisement as well, I guess, in a weird way for the Super League, because they've brought a couple of players over who have clearly thrived in this in the best league in the world for rugby league, and they've just won a minor premiership. So they've got some of their players that are out here playing in the best team at the competition at the moment. It really is incredible. Like the more and more I think about it, the more and more it's just absolute applaud the Raiders and what they have done. It's just been a sensational year so far, and I reckon they know the job's not done. Do you think? Do you have them above this Melbourne Storm? Melbourne Storm I feel like, a majority of people's favourites. Do you have the Raiders above the Storm at the moment?
Yeah, I do, and I feel like traditionally Raiders sort of play well against Melbourne anyway, just based on history as well. So I sort of I don't mind the matchup. I think the way Canberra can play can sort of frustrate Melbourne.
I'm absolutely with you on that one. Last one of the night, and it's great got you on because you are a massive Broncos fan, obviously, and it's an interesting topic of conversation here for the Broncos. I feel like it's not as extreme, but it might be a little bit of a chat similar to sort of the Bulldogs of the last couple of weeks, where I was watching that game and it was exciting. Like my initial thoughts watching this whole thing was, how good is this? Entertaining rugby league. It's nice weather up the top there, and the players acclimatized to it brilliantly and set up a really good spectacle for the crowd for rugby league watchers. And then I started to put myself in the shoes of Maguire, and I'm thinking, I don't know if I would really like this game because, yep, you scored 38 points. Yep, there was some brilliant moments in attack. However, there was 30 points leaked, and there was also a number of opportunities that went astray due to and a few errors due to just pushing the mark a bit too much. And I don't know if Maguire getting this close to the finals would want to be seeing that. I reckon he would have rather have seen a scoreline of 24-26, but it was a clinical performance where it was one of those, all right, we made one or two mistakes, but we were relentless. We sort of choked basically the Cowboys out of this game, and we won the game 24 points to 12 or something. Like it was, I think, and we saw it at halftime. He was blowing up Deluxe, and most people would have gone, well, that's a bit weird. Like they went into the sheds even, I'm pretty sure at the time, but to go that hard was a bit how you going. But I'm actually all for what he's done because I think that was effectively the message he's trying to send to this team to say we've actually got a good side here. We've got a competition that feels like it's quite open at the moment with teams that's been up and down a lot, apart from who we just spoke about, the Raiders, or just been a consistent juggernaut the whole year. But when you've got some of those players that you guys have in your lineup, to have that performance on the weekend, I'm very interested to hear what you have to say about it, but also your thoughts about what you're seeing from Madge, because there's been some criticism over the year about how will the Broncos players adapt to his style. He's we know what he's like, but I've always said that this Broncos side and the club at this time needs Maguire. I only think it's going to be a short-term thing. I think he'll be there for 2 to 3 years max. Then it'll be, okay, that's enough. Let's breathe for a little bit. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll touch on the game first. I liked some of it, and then I didn't like some of it. I'm sure that'd be probably how Madge was thinking as well. Like when I was watching it, and I don't like to come out and just bash Reece Walsh because he did some great things as well. Like he was in my 3-2-1s. Like he does some really good things, but like 4 errors, running block plays like really close to the line, and even he mentioned it after the game. I watched an interview. He said Valemay read me like a children's book there. He said, I just ran it because it's my favourite play. So he's preempting. He's doing stuff that he's not seeing. He just wants to do it because it looks good, which is very much how like a 21, 22-year-old sort of thinks as well. So I can forgive him for all that. Like he is learning, and he is sort of brilliant. I will sort of say just quickly as well, just on the injuries that we've had, our attack sort of looks a little bit better in some way.
Yes.
Billy Walters at 5'8", just throwing that peach of a cutout ball, that right to left for Karapani's try. That really nice cutout ball, just whizzed it out there. Although I do think his best position is hooker. I think he's real crafty out of there, but just how he sort of adapted. Yeah, and then I'll just touch on Madge. I think Madge is what Brisbane needs. Like we've got elite players that, you've got to sort of squeeze the juice out of them and just get that excellence, because you got to challenge, your Payne Hasses, your Carrigans. Like Payne's been on a bloody roll this year, watching him play. Like that try that he scored, he pushed away Cotter, then the Englishman Bateman, wasn't it? And then another 2 blokes, but he was sort of on 1 foot as he's like pushing blokes that are 100 kilos just down to the ground, just like he's a bloke just squashing ants, So he's on one, and just our back 5 as well, like the way that we're starting to kick return, like Staggs, he's got no self-preservation at all. Shibazaki, he's a unit. Even Mariner, like he's not the biggest guy, but he'll sort of try and bit of footwork to get on the outside of someone and still run it as hard as anyone. So I like the effort. It's just the execution for us at the moment. We're just, as you're saying, like the Bulldogs, just a bit disjointed at times. Like I think we look a bit better than them.
Yeah, you do.
Like if we were to verse the Bulldogs, like that would be I would love to verse them in the finals. That would be, I feel like that's an easy beat in a way, but
I don't know if disjointed is the word for your attack. What I think is potentially at times overconfidence. It might be because you've got all this superstar sort of attacking power throughout that team. Like you got even some of those, like even your wingers that can just beat guys one on one easily and just be like, see you
Mm.
later. Got amazing footwork. You got Stags who is in incredible form at the moment, who, in my opinion, is basically sewn up an Australian jersey, whether it's starting or at least in that squad. He's going that good. Walsh, I do get what you're saying with Walsh. I'm in two minds as a non-fan. When I watch Walsh, so exciting. I also look at the moments when he got that intercept, and then I heard at the end how he goes, "Oh yeah, that's what I went in wanting to do." Straight away, my mind goes to coaches like Ricky and Craig, who will be going into their wingers now, going, "We know Reece Walsh will throw this pass at some stage in this game. Make sure you're up, ready to go, because it's his favorite play." He's just admitted live on air that he will go into games wanting to throw that. So that's a slight worry, but at the same time, you want Reece Walsh playing this way. He's been the best he's been in a long time, consistently over the last 4 or 5 weeks. Funnily enough, it's occurred when you basically lost both halves, and I feel like he's stepped up. That used to be his downfall. Whenever he had to do too much, it felt like he played way too much above his weight, and couldn't handle that pressure. But this year, and I think might be a big help by Ben Hunt, who isn't playing, I feel like, to his absolute best that we've seen him in peak Dragons days. But what he's doing at the moment and the sort of help he's giving to Walsh is helping him just free up so much. And it's just suiting you guys to a T. Now, he does need to pick his moments a little bit better. But like you said, he's still young. We go back and think about some of these attacking guys in the past, like that year that Turbo had, he still had a few moments here and there where he overplayed things. Jared Hayne back for the Eels, he used to make mistakes and things like that, but you know what he'd do? Make a mistake and go, guess what? I'm going to get your next set. And that's sort of like the mind frame Walsh is in now, and he does it. It's remarkable.
Well, that's right. Like the pass he threw for Valame's intercept, he went up next, threw a short ball for Shibasaki, and they
Yeah.
scored. So exactly what you're saying. Like those good players come back and they redeem the bad plays. Um, yeah, it's just about picking the moments. Like if you look at how Wayne coaches, like I always go back to Wayne because he coached Brisbane for so long, and it was always on a low error count. He wanted his players to rip in, but it was low errors and it was real sort of disciplined football. I get the game sort of has moved away from that in ways that it has gotten faster and whatnot, but I think the fabric still is sort of there where
Yeah.
he needs to pick the moment, and that it just comes with doing reps, I guess. So yeah, it's hard to get frustrated because he's still doing it, but yeah, I feel like I'm going around in circles in some way. You're still frustrated with what he's doing, but he's brilliant and he has to do it. So it's like catch 22, So I just got to live with it.
Yeah. Finally on him, do you think you can win the competition this year?
I think we can, yeah. Yeah, I've still got faith we can win the comp this year. Yeah.
I want to tell you one reason I don't think you can, and I'm happy for you to come back at me
Yep.
about it. It's just one thing I've noticed, and I think Madge is quite unhappy with it, and it goes off. And granted to the Cowboys, when they can spark something, they're very, very hard to stop. But I just think that the defensive side of things, like 30 points against the Cowboys, might be something that Madge will be going, we cannot be letting teams score 30 points, because there will be games where we verse better defense. And let's be fair, the Cowboys defense all year has been really, really poor. Like you, you can get a Titans team that will score some points against the Cowboys. That's how it's sort of looking at the moment. But I think he'll be saying to the guys, I want us to win games 20 points to 10, 20 points to 12, things like that. I don't care. I know we can score 38 points. Like, I reckon he'd be very confident in this team being able to, if they need to, throw the ball around if they get desperate, score your 30 odd points if it gets to that, and away you go. But what you need to sort of get into a bit more is those low score defensive games. I just feel like that might be the slight little bit where Madge is still going to himself. That needs to be tinkered with a little bit.
Yeah, well, that is like our issue, obviously. Like we have
Yeah.
to get that right, but I don't think that the players don't know that. Like when I heard Ben Hunt talk at the end of that, he was like talking about how frustrated it was. He was like saying, some of it was brilliant, and then the next
He
minute it's
seemed
like you're playing with
disappointed.
kids. Yeah, he was disappointed, and there
Yeah.
was so many like, and I might be like critiquing hard, but like we pinned the Cowboys down in their end, right? And it was maybe tackle 4, and instead of just like going in and just making the tackle, Katoni makes sort of a strip which resets the whole set again, and they just did 4 tackles of hard work, in North Queensland at the end of a game, and you're sort of given over cheap possession. So it's stuff like that. But when I'm hearing Ben Hunt talk in interviews and he's sort of addressing that, and he's sort of the main half as well, I think that he has a lot of influence. Um, and I like how he plays. Like I like Reynolds, and Reynolds has like brought us a long way. Like without Reynolds, we wouldn't have made as many finals series as we've had. But as he's getting older and getting held together by tape, because he's sort of had a more of an injury-prone career. I like Ben Hunt's style of not being in the dinner suit, where he's sort of a tiny bit more of a threat on the run. Whereas I feel like teams, when they come up against and Reynolds is there, they can
Know what's happening.
almost forget and slide off him, and he's almost never going to run.
Yeah.
So we're a tiny bit less predictable when we've got Ben Hunt there. I feel like our forwards can match it with any pack. Like you want Payne Haas, Carrigan, we bring on Hetherington, Piakura, Ricky. Like they're all really good players. I don't think physically too many packs would like fully have it over us. Like I feel like we could have some even battles, but I don't see us getting dominated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which gives you back space, and yeah, I think we're just as good a chance as I think we're a better chance than the Dogs.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd actually agree with that one. One final question for you. I think Reynolds is back this weekend, on next weekend, basically. So, who do you pair him up with? Do you go Ben Hunt and go back to what it was to basically start the year, and that's senior, which I don't know if that's been your best version of football we've seen of the Broncos this year. Looking back on that, may have been the sort of the not so good, the most struggling time it's been for the Broncos, or do you keep Billy Walters there and perhaps put Ben Hunt back to the hooker spot? Where do you go with it?
That's a tough question because Billy Walters isn't exactly like a spark sort of player, Like he did have that nice like whip and ball, but he's more of a crafty sort of player. And then, like I was saying before, like I think they're going to go Hunt and Reynolds and then put Walters at 9. I think that's how they will do it. I'd almost make the hard call and give Reynolds another break, just give him another rest, and just see what happens against Melbourne. Just see what we do. Because he twinged his hammy at training just the other week, like after doing it, and then give him another rest, make sure he's 100%, and just see what we can do out there with build this combination. Because I sort of like what I'm seeing in the attack, especially. Like I think our attack looks as nice as it has all year.
There's something building really nicely, I feel like, and the fact that not many people out there actually talking about the Broncos scares me a little bit. Like my team's not even in the finals, but I'm just thinking to myself, looking at your lineup and just going, why aren't people talking about this team as much as I feel like there should be? I feel like there's this aura of the start of the year and all the Madge crap and all that sort of thing still sort of living with a few people out there, where I'm just sort of looking at it going, man, this team is actually building quite nicely, and the attack's humming. Look, they look to all be fully aware that defense needs to sharpen up. No doubt over the next week and a half, that will be the main focal point in every training session that they probably do. So I just think that it's up. I definitely do probably have you in the contender bracket more than the pretenders bracket at the moment, and I would have you above a couple of those teams in the 8 at the moment. Teams like the Bulldogs, the Warriors, I would have you guys above those sorts of teams in the pecking order. But what an exciting week we've got to go. At the moment, you're sitting 4th. That could change. You got the Storm. Who knows how they'll shape up. confidence how you guys will shape up either. But there's 3 teams on equal points as yourselves, and it's going to be a huge weekend coming up, which we will preview on Wednesday. But that's it from us. Thank you very much, Matt. We will be back Tuesday for the Supercoach show, the last regular Supercoach show of the year. Wednesday will be our last Wednesday night live show as well before we do something a little bit different over finals, which I'll talk about a bit more come Wednesday. But thank you, Matt, once again.
Thank you.
And Trav, get better, mate. We need you to back up Tuesday and Wednesday. Good night, everyone. Bye-bye.